The Buga UFO sphere in flight. Yes, we're going to see that tonight. My name is Bill. Welcome to the Night Terrors Weekend Show, and we're starting right now. Welcome to Eldergrown and Takahama Plateau. My Band on YouTube video series drops a new episode every Wednesday morning. Every subject covered in this series was banned by YouTube. One way to support the channel is to join as a member on YouTube. You will find the join button right next to Night Terrors in the description below. Thank you for supporting the show. Green tea has arrived. Welcome, ma'am. Takahama Olsen 2 is also here. Welcome, TO2. Let's get started. Rhino Rex says, hello, Bill. Hello, chat. Welcome, Rhino. And David Bryce Jr. says, good evening to everyone. Oh, the rain just started. By the way, we've been having thunderstorms lately. If we suddenly go off, I do have everything on backup, and I'll wait a couple of minutes. Frog Fan says, good evening to everyone. Welcome, Frog Fan. So if I suddenly go off the air, you'll get a warning. I have everything on backup. T-Ceratops is here as well. It's the dynamic duo. Welcome, TC. Oh no, Elder's super chats are broken again. Here at unidentifiedphenomena.com is an article entitled Buga UFO Sphere. I don't see an author here. Look at the bottom. This is Jaime Musan. He's the one who broke the story down south. Okay. And the unidentified author begins. On April 29th, 2025, Jaime Musan reported through Musan Television an astonishing case involving a mysterious sphere. Welcome, Brooke Birch. That appeared and crashed in Buga, Colombia. The event first came to light on March 26, 2025, when a video surfaced on social media showing a strange luminous sphere, and we will be seeing that video later, and we'll see it both in the air and on the ground. Dar Daddy says hello. Welcome, Dar Daddy. At first, little was known about the footage. No clear information about its origin, who filmed it, or the specific location beyond a vague connection to Colombia. Just a few days later, a second video emerged, revealing that both recordings had taken place in the town of Buga and were captured by two different witnesses. The second piece of footage began to solidify what would become one of the most compelling UFO incidents in recent memory. Yeah, it's recent. Brooke Birch says, we are sick in this house, waiting for Walmart to deliver our ice cream. Be praying for you, Brooke. The first video, now attributed to a young woman named Muriel, showed the sphere moving with intelligence. Clearly not a balloon or conventional object. The sphere glowed with various colors and had a metallic appearance. The movements were not erratic or random. They seemed purposeful, deliberate. Then came the second video, this time captured by a man in the mountains near Buga. He had been using electromagnetic equipment to search for buried treasure. Electromagnetic equipment. He had a metal detector. And it raised the possibility that the sphere had been attracted to that device. Green tea. What truly shocked viewers was what happened next. The sphere began to descend, not crash, and you'll see it, it's coming up. And the witness moved closer. Choosing to remain anonymous for his safety, the man reaches the object, which weighed approximately 2 kilograms. Welcome to Synchro 505. Hello, Michael. Mike provides all the incidental music for the show. Despite the risks, he picked it up with his bare hands. For the first time in a while, a civilian had physical possession of an alien sphere, an object resembling the ones that we have seen flying worldwide, such as the one spotted recently on the runway at Manchester Airport, which ascended before contact could be made. But in Buga, someone finally held one. This object was eventually handed over to Daniel Velez, known locally as El Potro, an entrepreneur from Buga, and co-owner of a company called Germany, which manufactures electromagnetic devices designed to detect metals. In other words, they sell metal detectors? Or even mineral deposits underground. Sometimes even oil. Good luck with that one with a metal detector. With that, a formal investigation began into what became known as the Buga Sphere. I wonder if that's a link to his company. No, it just goes to a link to Germany. Co-owner of a company called Germany. Daniel Velez, huh? Oh, you can't copy anything on this page. That's right, I can spell it. Daniel Velez. Velez. Metal detectors. Gotta spell Daniel right. Metal detectors, Las Vegas. Buga, Colombia. Don't understand what spelling mistake I made. It's all about the orb. Metal detector. Instagram. Yeah, it's all about the orb. Congratulations, Brooke Birch. Scientists at the Germany company discovered unusual features. On the upper surface of the sphere was an intricate figure that defied easy classification. More strikingly, they identified what appeared to be a quantum chip embedded in the sphere, surrounded by a belt-like structure dotted with small colored points. The discovery marked a major moment in human history. For the first time, the public, not just governments or military agencies, had physical evidence of one of the unidentified objects that have long stirred global curiosity. The case is ongoing and continues to raise deep questions about who or what created the Buga Sphere, why it descended near a civilian, and what its purpose may truly be. This unprecedented find has also revived public interest in other mysterious metallic spheres that have surfaced in recent history, notably the Betts Sphere, Jim Marlin's Sphere, and the Juanito Juan Sphere. The Betts Sphere I've heard of. I never heard of Jim Marlin's Sphere. Welcome to CVI, who needs a quantum chip. I wonder if that's a link to Jim Marlin's Sphere. You got to click on it and then it changes the thing. Let's duplicate this page in that case. We'll duplicate twice. course, the second one goes at the end. Jim Marlin, what are you about? No pictures of his. But it weighed 50 pounds, whereas the Bet sphere weighed less than half that much. Big L1 has arrived. Wants to know what makes it fly. And the Juanito Juan sphere. Ah, no kidding. Looks even smaller than the Bet sphere. We're going to see film coming up of the Buga sphere. Elder Gones says it translates as friendship. Good to have an expert on hand. Two Feathers has arrived. Welcome, Two Feathers, ma'am. Two Feathers says it flies with magnetism. T. Olson 2 questions friendship. Elder Gone corrects me. He says friendship makes it fly. The Betts family discovered a similar sphere in Florida. They quickly gained attention for its strange behavior. It rolled on its own, making humming noises when music played, and defied gravity by not falling off the surface of slopes. X-rays of the Betts sphere showed two internal components and a shifting magnetic field inside. Some thought it might be a lost piece of industrial equipment, while others leaned toward a non-human origin. In another case from the 70s, a man named Jim Marlin came into possession of a heavy metallic sphere, roughly 50 pounds, that a friend claimed had fallen from a UFO in New Mexico. Marlin reported bizarre effects while handling the object, including one moment where he was thrown across the room by a sudden burst of light, suggesting the sphere had some sort of active or reactive energy. It was also strongly magnetic. T. Ceratops says only be concerned if it says to serve man on it. Old TZ reference. Then there's the Juanito Juan sphere, tied to the Mexican contactee of the same name, who has reportedly had multiple sightings and encounters with airborne metallic spheres. While that object has not been extensively analyzed by others, Juanito's consistent documentation, including photographs, adds weight to his story. The frequency of these appearances and their similarity to other cases suggest recurring phenomenon. What ties these cases together, whether it's Buga, Florida, New Mexico, or Mexico, is a pattern of metallic sphere behavior in no ways known to technology. They seem to move with purpose, interact with the environment, and in some instances show signs of internal complexity or even intelligence. The investigation into the Buga sphere took an even stranger turn as scientists from the Germany company began analyzing the object in their lab. Initially, the sphere weighed around 2 kilograms when it was picked up in the hills. But once it was placed on a calibrated scale in the lab, its weight had jumped to 10. This unexpected change sparked theories that the sphere's internal levitation system might have still been partially active when it was first recovered. You will see it in flight soon, and also on the ground. T. Plateau says the sphere has a magnetic personality. Based on its size and assuming it's made entirely of metal, the object should weigh around 80 kilograms, not just 10. Oddly enough, when exposed to fire, it did not heat up. The first to reach it reported it was ice cold, even under temperatures as high as 400 degrees centigrade. When water was poured on it, the water evaporated instantly, yet the surface of the sphere remained cold to the touch. Another unusual characteristic was a set of black bands wrapped around the surface, and what appeared to be a quantum chip embedded within a belt-like structure marked with colored dots. Early observations led the researchers to believe they might extract some form of advanced knowledge from the object, possibly reverse engineering it. However, they quickly realized this would be far more difficult than they imagined. The areas touched by water became shiny, while the sphere stayed ice cold. Thank you, Elder, for the link. Possible decoding of that sphere in Buga, Colombia, working with the AI to uncover possible meanings. Shocking discovery at UFOfeed.com. That's a reproduction of the top. And I guess that's the translation right there by AI. 12. Artificial or artificing. Earth. Ship. So that leaves 9 that haven't been found. When video of the metallic sphere that reportedly fell near Buga first appeared online, most viewers fixated on the object's super-cold surface, its X-ray scans, and the fact that it was swiftly sequestered by journalist-researcher Jaime Musan. I was drawn instead to the narrow equatorial band of glyphs. More than 20 angular characters, each one unique, machined so cleanly they reminded me of circuit traces rendered in the form of runes. Good idea, Rhino Rex, adding it to the list. We will cover that tonight. Thank you, Rhino. Got to move that over to the list. To discover whether the markings meant anything, I fed the sharpest photograph into an AI language vision model and gave it a brief. First, determine whether the glyphs constitute real script by running frequency counts, looking for repeating letters, space lines, vowel signs, or ligatures. Second, benchmark them against a rigorous classical system, Sanskrit and Devanagari, because its structure is rich in diagnostic features. Third, if the inscription still defied conventional reading, make a guess. No, that's not what he says. Defied conventional reading, diagnose Y and test alternate geometric rotations, half-clip overlaps, and anything else that might expose a cipher. The model's initial audit was blunt. In natural writing systems, high-frequency characters always recur. English repeats. The most repeated letter in English being the letter E. I used to have it memorized when I played Wheel a lot in my mind while watching from the comfort of my couch. Even Sanskrit repeats a letter, but this ring showed 0 repetition. Every stroke was sharpened to a chisel edge, each glyph burdened by decorative flourishes. No headline, no word dividers appeared. A direct comparison with Devanagari only deepened the mismatch. Sanskrit letters share a horizontal mark, and fuse into complex conjuncts, whereas the sphere's symbol stood alone and disconnected. However, I was not convinced and decided to ask AI to dig deeper. The full text read, Artificing Earth, Ship 12. Artificing is an archaic English word meaning to create through technical skill. Paired with Earth in what looks like a vessel designation, the phrase resembles a mission motto. The iconography on the sphere reinforces that reading. Excuse me. Need coffee. Eventually, the weight of the sphere was officially measured at 10 kilograms and seemed to increase slightly day by day. The case was notable not just for its strangeness, but because this artifact was in the hands of civilians, not the military. At another plant, I don't know about this company from Germany, or named Germany. Maybe if we search on the name itself. I mean, it says the name's Germany, right? Germany metal detectors. Germany company. How do you say company in Spanish? How do you say company in Spanish? How do you say company in Spanish? It's not working. Company in Spanish. My computer bugged out right before the show. I mean, super slow. Some process in the background. I checked out Task Manager. Empress are used in most contexts to refer. Compañía, often used for larger or formal businesses. Firma, law firms. Sociedad, used in legal contexts. Empresa. Okay, we use Empresa. Germany Empresa metal detectors. No, not made in Germany. We'll just say Buga. No, we won't say Buga. We'll just get all the stories again. Go. Metal detectors, come on. Colombia. Maybe. Colombia metal detectors. There we go. Colombia company metal detectors. Only we could have a list. List of metal detector companies in Colombia. Let's see if it'll fail again. List of metal detector companies in Colombia. Got it that time. Yeah, instead of, in the article I read, instead of the sphere being analyzed by a company, by this company they're talking about, is there one with Germany in the name? The word. Yes. There's a metal detector product that includes the word Germany. Germany plus 2. Yeah, see? What they didn't list the name of the company, of course. What is the name of that company? Available through Master Detector Colombia. So that's where they said they sent the sphere for analysis. But the article I read in prep for the show said that it was that Jaime Maussan was the journalist who reported it, found the or his experts were the ones that examined the sphere. At this point, Jaime Maussan began working closely with David Velez, also known as El Potro, the businessman who first received the sphere. So he's the owner of the metal detector company. Wow. According to Maussan, Velez was overwhelmed by the public pressure and endless messages bombarding his company. It says here the name of the company is Germany. But here it says, but that's the name of their product. The name of the company is Master Detector Colombia. But maybe they're just an outlet, a metal detector outlet. Who manufactures the Germany Plus 2? The specific manufacturer is not clearly identified in available sources. It's worth noting that several companies with Germany in their names produce metal detectors. And they're all in Germany. Anyway, all of these are, these three they gave for examples. So that can't be it. Maussan suggested to Velez that he publicly state the sphere had already been transferred to him in order to ease the pressure. Velez agreed and even sent Maussan a voice message explaining that the public reaction was overwhelmingly positive once people heard the sphere was in the hands of a reputable investigator. This turn of events gave Maussan full access to the investigation, prompting him and his team to travel to Colombia, from Cali to Buga, to follow the case on site. He described the journey as one of the most exciting adventures of his life. While in Cali, he conducted an in-depth interview with David Velez, a portion of which he planned to release on social media. During the interview, Velez opened up about his lifelong wish to make contact with something otherworldly. Germany's team eventually agreed to distance themselves entirely from the sphere. Oh, why is that? I skipped a couple items here. They found abnormal weight change, heat resistance, an evaporation effect, and exotic materials. Russia has shown interest in acquiring the sphere. There were offers to exchange the artifact for any resource. All right, let's see that video, huh? I took this from two videos. I spliced them together. So we have just under 2 minutes of video here. We'll take a couple looks at it. But here she is. Hopefully we don't get a copyright on this one. There's a little bit of sound. Fortunately, they had someone there with a video camera. Let's do a second round. And we'll go back to the desktop. All right. Yeah, right, Rhino Rex. I saw that myself. Rhino says, it is worth remembering that with the ever-present nature of cell phones, it's much more likely there's a video camera on hand. Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm too cynical. First up in our suggestions, and we do need suggestions, folks. Big R1 says, there's more than just magnetism that makes it fly. More like black magic. Could you guys hear the sound on that? Hear the wind a little bit and the guy panting there? We do need suggestions. First up is TO2, or I should say T-Plateau. Thank you, Mike. Rhino says maybe, but the new generations have all, but had them grafted to them from birth. I'd bet at least a few would remember to use them. Couldn't hear it at all the time. Yeah, that's part of the film. Part of it doesn't have audio. All right, let's get out of metal detectors here. From T-Plateau. There we go. We need suggestions, people. And this is... Who unalived Muriel Drinkwater? Thank you, T-Plateau. Thank you, Green Tea. We have 2 more suggestions. Thank you, guys. Keep them coming in, please. This happened in June 1946 in Swansea? Swansea, they call it. Swansea. Wales. I have ancestors from Wales. Let's look at walesonline.co.uk. Here in a story by Kathy Owen, entitled The Unsolved Murder of 12-year-old Muriel Drinkwater and the New Suspect Identified. Good call, T-Plateau. No, thank you. Caption reads, School friends at the grave of Muriel Drinkwater, whose unaliving in 1946 remains one of the most horrifying in Welsh history. Thank you, Rhino Rex. We need one more suggestion, people. Keep them coming. G'day, Dinkamossi. She was beaten, sexually assaulted, and shot twice just yards from her family's isolated farmhouse in 1946. Moments before being brutally attacked, 12-year-old Muriel Drinkwater, but it's difficult to read, had waved to her mother, who stood at the kitchen window, as she made her way home from Gowerton High School along the path that led to her family home. Good one, gotcha, man. Thank you, buddy. Gotcha, man now has so much time on his hands he doesn't know what to do. Isn't it great? But Muriel, who was known locally as the Little Nightingale because of her singing voice, never made it home. She was pulled from the path into the woodland beside it, attacked and unalived amongst the undergrowth at Penlager Woods near Swansea, just yards from safety. Her killer has never been caught and remains among the most notorious unsolved murders in Wales. Here at 12 years of age, apparently. You'd think someone would have heard the shots. Now a team of former detectives and crime experts have reinvestigated the case. Dubbed the Little Red Riding Hood unaliving, and have uncovered a new prime suspect. They pieced together evidence from the time using new forensic breakthroughs and links to other cases in the area. They didn't do that before. To identify who they think unalived Muriel in the most horrific way. But the mystery doesn't end there. And the team wants to unlock the mystery behind a book belonging to Muriel that turned up in a charity shop decades after her death. Officers searching the farmland in the days after the unaliving. Talking about combing the area. Talk about combing the area with real combs. Filmed as part of documentary Darkland, Hunting the Killers, that's being shown on BBC Wales. The name of unaliver Ronnie Harries, the last man to have been hanged in Carmarthen, has been put forward by the team that is headed by the former Chief Constable of Dyfed Poise, looks like. That Welsh, it's hard to pronounce. Jackie Roberts. Harry's bludgeoned two of his relatives to death with a hammer when they wouldn't let him borrow their car. The bodies were found buried in a Carmarthenshire kale field in 1953. Muriel was skipping through the woods on the afternoon of June 27th in 1946, as she did every day on her way from school, when the summer's afternoon turned to tragedy. Former Detective Inspector Paul Bethel, who was in charge of South Wales Police Cold Case Team, explained in the documentary, "We know Muriel used to catch the school bus from the school to the gateway off the main road, which led to the forestry. And then she would walk about a mile through the forestry, along the lane to the farmhouse. Muriel's schoolmates with flowers for her grave." Police records from the time show that Muriel's mother was the last person to see her alive. Wonder how that could be. Well, I don't know how that could be. Before she went to school, but then kids at school would have seen her, right? That doesn't make any sense. She's coming home from school. Paul says Muriel had almost made it to the home. From the statements of the day, it appeared her mother was making a pot of tea and looked out the window and actually saw Muriel about 500 yards away coming up the tracks towards the farmhouse. She disappeared around the bend into some more dense undergrowth. She lost sight of her for a few moments. The crime scene is a short distance from the farmhouse. She had been attacked on the lane, and then she was dragged to where the body was left. Damn. Good point, T Plateau. Thank you, Rhino Rex. Yeah, we did that one. That's a good one. That was fairly recently, too, so. But keep coming up with suggestions, buddy. And or Madam. I forget which is which. I think T Ceratops is the Madam, I think. In the days and weeks that followed, police officers visited every farmhouse and cottage within 150 square miles, along with interviewing 20,000 men in Swansea, Aberdare, and Carmarthenshire. Yet despite their exhaustive inquiries, not to mention the discovery of the gun used in Muriel's shooting, the culprit managed to evade justice. But in 2003, when the case was reopened for review, forensics experts had a major breakthrough when they found a semen stain on Muriel's coat. Send the kids to bed, people. Oh, it's the other way around. Thank you, Rhino Rex. Madam? The coat had been lying forgotten in police storage for decades. But after much searching was found by retired DCI Bethel's cold case team. And is thought to be one of the oldest pieces of crime scene evidence in the world. I found the original clothing, he said. And we know, even though it had been 60 years since it went into storage, that it is hers. Her name was written in copper plate, Muriel J. Drinkwater. And they were examined by the forensic expert who did some incredible work for us, and was able to find this full crime stain on the back of Muriel's little school Mac. We know 100% that it is the killer's stain. There's no doubt about that. And Stain is right. A picture of the weapon the police believe was used. Forensic scientist Dr. Colin Dark said that the stain had been found on the lower flap of Muriel's coat. He described the search for the clothes that had been taken from the crime scene. He told the documentary, "We had access to the files and identified that the stain had been found on the coat. The hardest part then was actually finding the materials," he told the documentary. The materials. Looking through the paperwork, we could see the materials had left the crime scene, where they had gone, where they had been examined. We could see they had been in a police station. But as it closed, where did they go next? They were tracked down to a storeroom in a current police station in a very dark corner. People forgot it was there. We got a partial profile, given that it was the oldest cold case with a stain on it that we had been working on. I thought it was supposed to be the oldest cold case in the world. Frog Fan, thank you. Frog Fan with the last suggestion. Thank you, Frog Fan. Harold Jones, a convicted child unaliver who was also a suspect in Muriel's killing. The DNA was initially used to rule from suspicion. Someone who had been spotted close to the woods on the afternoon Muriel was attacked. It was also tested against the DNA of one Harold Jones, a convicted double child unaliver, who slayed two similarly young girls in Abertillery in the 1920s to see if he might be the perp. He could not be placed at the scene, and the DNA ruled him out. Evidence against Harry's. He looks like a bastard, doesn't he? Excuse my language. Forensic historian Nell Darby found similarities in the case of Muriel Drinkwater and the later Ronnie Harry's farmhouse unalivings in old newspaper articles from the time. She said he came to public attention in the early 1950s when he was convicted of murdering an older couple. This was a big news story at the time. There's evidence you can see of overkill with Muriel Drinkwater's case as well. No pun intended. Just before his execution, Harries gave an extraordinary interview to the tabloid press from his cell. Ms. Darby says, quote, "He denied killing his relatives at all. He cannot understand why people would think he unalived them. He also fixates on the fact that he is married to a younger woman, that she is 5 years younger than him, that she started going out with him while she was still in school. He is very clearly interested in the fact that she is young, that she's a schoolgirl, and that she is also very clever. He bragged that she went to grammar school." Quote continued, "It does make you think that Muriel Drinkwater, who passed her 11 plus to get into grammar school, is a sort of girl in which he would have been interested, given the sheer level of violence that he inflicted on his own relatives. I can't quite believe that this would be the first instance of his violence. Another witness came forward to tell the team that Ronnie Harries had worked on a farm in Penlegar, evidence that was supported from a newspaper cutting at the time. I'm sorry, Penlegar. There was an article that said that Harries had worked for Muriel's father John at the time of the unaliving. Yeah, I guess so. Evidently, this is that article. Harries had been a casual laborer in the employ of the girl's father. Yeah, so I guess, right? Solved, right? John Drinkwater at the Penlegar farm, the site of the tragedy. Pendine man Harries worked across many farms in the area. The married farmhand was known to be a reliable laborer. The team tracked down Harry's cousin Lynn Hughes, who described how the only child had been spoilt by his parents and was very childish. He said, "I was about 9 at the time, and he was about twice my age. But I felt I was his superior." During the course of the investigation, the finger of blame had sometimes been pointed at Muriel's father, John. The detectives in the program got a breakthrough when they were able to track down Muriel's relative, Martin Phillips, who had been 6 at the time of the unaliving. He agreed to give a DNA sample that could rule out Muriel's father from the investigation. Martin will remember as a young girl who was always full of life, always skipping and singing. In the program, former Dyfed Powell's Chief Constable Jackie Roberts traveled to meet him, and he told her how his grandparents, Muriel's parents, had changed after the unaliving. They had been regular churchgoers, but stopped and moved away from the farm within 2 years. It was the first time he had spoken publicly about the tragedy that haunts his family to this day. And it is 54 past the hour. We're going to move on to the next topic, which is from Rhino Rex. Thank you, ma'am. And that is the Iranian Saltmen. Wow. It's more than one. I like that title. We're not going there because we don't want to overuse any site. You're welcome, T. Plateau. I like this title. Meet the ghoulish salt mummies that were frozen in time. New York Post article. Let's try New York Post. Oh, I thought you corrected me, Rhino Rex. Wait, Rhino Rex, didn't you say... Oh, I saw. I thought you said sorry. It is the wife. You said sorry. T is the wife. I misread it. When you said sorry, T is the wife, I thought I said sorry. It is the wife. Meaning yourself. Sorry, buddy. Gotcha Man says Trader Joe's organic mummy salt. Yeah, let's try the post. Rock fan likes the title too. Here in a story by Olivia Land entitled Meet the Saltmen. Freakishly well-preserved ancient mummies found in Iran. We read, no, we're not going to sign up. No thanks. Haunting photos captured the final poses of a handful of Persian salt mine workers, whose remains languished inside a salt mine for thousands of years before they were unearthed. I imagine because other people were mining for more salt. The 6 corpses, known as the Saltmen, were naturally mummified and preserved in the Karabad salt mine, near the village of Manzalou in northwest Iran, according to Real Clear Science. The first salt man, complete with a long white beard and a single gold earring. Persians, as well as a set of iron knives, was accidentally unearthed by miners in 1993, that is. Why is this always popped down on me? Why is it doing this? Okay, let's log in. Google. Get rid of the pop-up. It's the only way. Continue. Okay, get out of my way now. No, it won't. The mummy, now known as Saltman 1, was still wearing one of his leather boots and had some traces of woolen trousers on his leg. Chilling photos show the man's preserved head and boot-clad leg inside display cases. Boy, they got the head. Is that the leg right there? That's the boot. The leg is up here where you can't see it, I guess. But that's the boot. It has a sole. Obviously, it will have a sole, but looks like the sole is separate. Oh, we can't enlarge it. It's a video. Wait, maybe we can. No, that would be a bad idea. It would enlarge all the letters and stuff, and I'd get confused. What if we looked up Saltman boot, if we could find it? Let's find it. Let's try it. Iranian Saltman boot. And there it is, with leg. With leg. And if the kids are not in bed by now, because the leg's in there, buddy. That's very small, not too bad. It's probably the best view of it, though. Oh my God, there's some really gruesome views of this. This is probably the least gruesome because the leg is still in the boot. Ugh. Open image, new tab. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh. Yeah, let's do. Oh my God. No, image. Just image, please. Image. It didn't do it. I want to see the soul is what I want to see. Oh, okay, so it looks almost the same, so probably leather soul as well. In the other picture, I thought the soul looked darker than the leather on top. It looks, well, who knows, you know? Maybe a thicker leather on the bottom. What a nice boot. Synchro 505 says, tastes like chicken. The man is believed to have died in the mind around 300 years AD. His remains were buried in the middle of a 148-foot tunnel. 11 years later, in 2004, a second Saltman was found just 50 feet from where Saltman 1's remains were uncovered. 3 years after that, 2 more mummies, one of the workers having been a 16-year-old boy, were found in another tunnel. Beginning the next year, 2006, the Iranian Cultural Heritage News Agency partnered with different cultural institutions to lead thorough excavations of the Karabad site, which was closed for mining in 2008. Well, these are his, what they call his trousers. With the seams here, it looks like they were like shorts, because it must have been hot in the mines, right? Doesn't it look like these are shorts? Short shorts. There's the scale of, that must be 10 inches right there? Must be centimeters. Or some other metric measurement I don't understand because I was never educated properly. Rhino says it must be an original pair of Red Wing boots. So however long that is, that's a 10 scale. That's, I guess, about 4 inches maybe? Gotta be about 4 inches, right? Yeah, about 4 inches. They found a knife, some kind of pin. A knife sheath looks like. A rope used for... It's not big enough to go around his waist. Huh. Oh, there it is again. Oh, the head's right behind it. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. By 2010, a total of 6 corpses had been found in the mine. The bodies came from various time periods, with the oldest dating back to 9550 before Christ. 10,000 years before Christ. Holy cow. Huh. Like Saltman 1, all the remains were remarkably well preserved. The lack of oxygen deep inside the mine also prevented the bodies from decomposing. 4 of the Saltmen are kept at the Archaeology Museum in Zanjan, while Saltman 1 is on display at the National Museum in Tehran. The 6th corpse, which was found in 2010, was left half stuck inside the salt mountain. because they developed the site and now it's probably display. Over the years, scientists have increased the number of potential saltmen from 6 to 8, leading scientists to conclude that they were all likely killed in mining collapses. No kidding, they weren't tourists. The 16-year-old laborer was even found with his hands still raised above his face, as if he was surprised by a sudden fall or other threat. And there he is right there. They say hands raised, you can't see the other one. Or struggling to get out of the salt covering him. Oh my God, what a way to go. Over the years, scientists have increased the potential saltmen from 6 to 8, as further exam revealed detached body parts of other individuals. Close analysis also showed that all of the saltmen bore signs of fractures and compression injuries, leading scientists to brilliantly conclude that they were all likely killed in mining collapses. Yeah, what else? You think they died of a heart attack and they just left them there? The fifth saltman was more well preserved than the others, which allowed scientists to examine his organs up close. His intestines were riddled with tapeworms, which suggested his ancient diet included raw or undercooked meat. Or raw meat. Oh, they said raw. Gotcha Man says, with all that salt, they probably also had high blood pressure. They could have died from high blood pressure in the mine. Despite the wealth of information, that also marked the earliest evidence of ancient intestinal parasites in Iran. Despite the wealth of information contained in the remains, questions about their official cause of death remain a mystery. Suffocation, I wager, which you might even be able to find signs of. Ooh, there's a link from Elder. Thank you, Elder. Oh, that's the old Elder. I mean, that's the old link. Thank you, Elder, for the old link. Next up at 9 minutes past the hour. From Green Tea, we're going to have to move along here. We have 4 more suggestions, and not that long a time to do it in. Let's do this. From Green Tea. The haunted Borley Rectory. You can shop at Borley Rectory. They have an official site. Some people consider it the most haunted house in England. Grunge we've seen. It's in Essex. Let's go to Essex Live News. Here's a story by, got it, Louise Lazelle, entitled Borley Rectory, the haunted house in Essex, where the creepy ghost of a Victorian boy was spotted. No thanks. Borley Rectory is thought to be the most haunted house in England. I bet a lot claim that. No, we don't want that one. We want the original one, please. Oh, it kept our place. Thank you. Russell Old was just 17. His name was Russell Old. When he first stepped onto the haunted grounds of Borley Rectory, he had no idea of the things he would witness on that day 20 years ago, and how it would impact the rest of his life. You can skip the fluff. Russell was stood on the grounds of the most haunted house in England in the rural village of Borley, northwest of Colchester. The location is where tales of ghostly nuns, mysterious voices, and visions of an eerie coach and horses have been spotted over the decades. Rhino says, "Get the fluff out of here." It was on that cold day at the beginning of the century that Russell spotted the figure of a young boy dressed in Victorian clothing. Russell explained, "One day my uncle asked if I had ever heard of Borley Rectory. As we were driving down the road, you could just feel your arm hair stick up. I knew I was near it. We drove up to the church, and there's a little turnstile you can sit on in front of it. I'm sorry, a little turning. A bend in the path, I guess. I remember turning my head and looking towards it and seeing a little boy. I remember it so well. He looked Victorian, with tweed jacket. I looked to my uncle and said, 'Can we go? I don't want to be here.' I said, 'Didn't you see it?' After returning to the site later the same evening. He has no control of the car at this point in his life. Even more bizarre things started to happen. We drove back through in the evening, and all of a sudden, there was a massive thump on the one side of the car. At that point, we had to stop the car in case we had hit something, but there was nothing. We were panicking. Looking around at all the bushes, and there was nothing there. Everybody was really on edge. We got back in the car, and as we approached a turning, yes, it is a crook in the road, my uncle stopped the car. We said, "Why?" He said, "To let the other car go past." But there was no car. He had seen headlights, but there was nothing there. Their visit to Borley Rectory that day left an imprint in Russell's mind. This from 1937, this image. Wow, they really kept it up back then. When were the earlier images from? No date. But they don't mow their graveyard when this was taken. The topiary, too, they let it go a lot. Wow, that's a shame. Back then, I guess it wasn't that important for your church to look good. For your rectory, rather. That's a place like attached to a church, right? A rectory? Or for special use by, I don't know. Lost my place. Okay, this also 37. What? A photograph of the gloomy and neglected rectory during the observational period in 1937. And what is this one? burnt down in 1937. So this must be a picture predating 1937. Colorized. It's a colorized picture. All right. By the way, welcome Chris Cease. Chris Cease says of the former story, now we know the main ingredient to Arby's steak nuggets. Borley Rectory was built in Essex in 1863, but became particularly infamous for its unsettling horror stories in 1929, 8 years before it burned down. Thank you, T. T. Ceratop says the rectory is where the priest lives. I should know that as a French Catholic. This was the story that started with Daily Mail journalist V.C. Wall waiting with a photographer in the woods behind the rectory one summer night. While they didn't spot any ghostly figures, a light came shining from inside the rectory. Going inside, there was no light to be seen. From the outside, however, they could see the light coming through. It was these reports of Borley that infamously inspired the psychical researcher Harry Price to visit. Ah, the famous Harry Price. I think we covered him on an earlier show. Coffee. On his visit alongside Price that same evening, Wall believed he spotted a nun moving towards a stream in the garden. That's all they say about it. He spotted a nun. I guess there were no nuns there. Or they, who knows? He spotted a ghostly nun. Legend has it that a monk from a monastery, a Benedictine monastery, believed to have been built in that area in 1362, had a relationship with a nun from a nearby convent, which led to deadly punishment. Not of the monk, of course. When their affair was discovered, she was allegedly bricked up alive in the convent walls. That same day, Wall and Price claimed to witness a red glass candlestick fly past their heads and shatter against an iron stove. They recorded pebbles and slate bouncing down the stairs. Servants' bells rang on their own. A key flew out of a keyhole. Was ejected out, most likely, right? Here it is in its heyday. What's the date of this? No date given. Can we find out the date of this picture? I just forgot. I don't have to worry. It's my show. I don't have to hurry. It's my show. I can cover all the... I can extend the time to cover all the topics from the peoples. Let's see if we can find out the date of this picture. Let's open a new tab. Save in the show folder. They're playing cricket? Looks like, right? Or had played at one point. Those are cricket stakes, right? Or are they? That's just a imperfection in the photograph. But these are a couple of cricket stakes, right? Interesting. Hello, Anna. Elder says the haunted house looks like a church to me. Did we save that yet? No, let's save it. In the show folder. No, I'll go back, please. One more. Oh, it's a WebP. We have to do save as. Let's save it as a WebP. That'll make it shorter to save as. WebPs don't save very well. Save it as a PNG, please. Thank you. Identify the year this picture was taken. Attach the picture. From the show file. Oh, we're there already. That's nice. Oh, please show me those big tiles. Where's the picture? There it is. At the top, of course. Green Tea says, I think a rectory is the house where the priest or pastor lives. Thank you, Green Tea. Croquet, says Gotcha Man. I didn't realize they played croquet in the UK. Thank you, Gotcha Man. It would more likely be croquet given that only ladies are pictured. Is that true? Only ladies? Where's that picture? Lady, 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 lady. Yeah, 4 ladies. They say here it was destroyed by fire in 1939. Of course, AI is often wrong. Let's challenge AI. My article says the rectory burned in 1937. You're right to flag that. There's some historical confusion and variation in reports about when the rectory burned. And let's go to here. And here. Nearly 100 years later, these very same occurrences are still recorded by people like Russell, who is now the founder of Essex Ghost Hunters. Every single time he visited the rectory, his attempted video recording has failed. Weird Night in Haunted House. Yes, we must read the article. From the Daily Mirror of... Well, we'll find out in a second. Open image, new tab. Keep cool how? With water. Keep cool with water? What's that for? Ice cream ad. Vanilla ice cream cup. 4D. No idea what a D is. I don't think I think of it as a Roman coin. It's from 1929. Weird Night in Haunted House. Shape that moved on lawn at Borley Rectory. Strange wrappings. Articles flying through the air seen by watchers. from our special correspondent, Long Melford. This is the Harry Price investigation. Falling glass. Raps on a mirror. A cake of soap on the washstand was lifted and thrown heavily on to a china jug standing on the floor with such force that the soap was dented. All of us were at the other side of the room. A D is a penny. Thank you, T. Plateau. 4 cents. For 1 scoop? No, a cup. Gotta be more than 1 scoop, right? A heaping scoop. Our questions, which we asked out loud, were answered by raps, apparently made on the back of a mirror in the room. No medium or spiritualist was present. Price was known for making sure that there was no hanky-panky going on behind the scenes. He was a spiritual investigator in the vein of Harry Houdini, who also critically exposed fake mediums. From 1863, Reverend Henry Dawson Bull lived there with his family and were frequently disturbed. From rushing water in the house where there were no mains or interior pipes. Rushing water. Bells ringing with no explanation. The sound of heavy footsteps. Many cases centered around the daughter Ethel, who one night reportedly received a slap across the face as she lay in bed. Paranormal activity is often supposed to, especially poltergeist activities, is supposed to bloom around young females. I have read. Next up, at 29 minutes past the hour, from Rhino Rex, sir. Cindy James' mysterious unaliving. MorbidCuriosity.com, with curiosity spelled with a K, has an article entitled Cindy James, the horrifying story of what really happened to her, by Mr. Morbid. Authorities discovered the body of Vancouver nurse Cynthia Elizabeth James in the yard of an abandoned home in June 1989. She had a stocking wound securely about her neck, hands and ankles bound behind her back, and police ruled out self-harm. Her unaliving came following a 7-year campaign of intimidation, assault, and arson attempts on her home. Time to move. It's like that, who's the famous guy on Saturday Night Live? Well, I can't remember his name, so I guess I can't do the joke. Her death and earlier accusations were hotly contested because the Royal Canadian Mounted Police could not locate any proof she'd been a victim of a stalker. The marvelous 80s. There's laws against that now. How about it, Gotcha Man? You got the laws up there against that now? She had a known medical history of depression and self-harm ideation. Her family members publicly asserted she had been taken advantage of and then unalived. Otto Hack, an English teacher and retired colonel in the Royal Canadian Air Force, and Matilda Tilley, a homemaker, welcomed Cynthia into the world in 1944. She was of Russian ancestry. I guess Hack is the Russian name. Or maybe Matilda was. Tilly may not have been her maiden name. I guess Tilly. Oh, Matilda Tilley. Yeah, that was probably her nickname. Her parents were both of Russian ancestry. She was one of 6 kids. 2 younger sisters, 3 older brothers. That should make for a healthy upbringing, I would think. Her father's sickness. Oh, strictness, including corporal punishment, characterized her youth. When she was an adult, she decided to become a nurse. She periodically mentioned an unknown intern she had met while studying in her mails to her family during this time. She stated that after learning he had a terminal disease, the man who had been engaged to her for a time unalived himself when the two were on a skiing trip. She did not mention the man by name, but none of her family had ever met him. She married Roy Makepeace, a psychiatrist who was 18 years her senior in the summer of '65. Her relatives testified that the couple's marriage was strained and they occasionally exhibited emotional distance from one another. Cindy later accused Makepeace of marital violence, although Makepeace said he only slapped her twice during their marriage. Yeah, right. She was a pediatric nurse from '66 to '75. And between '82 and '89, a period of 7 years, she was reporting to the police over 90 instances of illegal conduct, house invasions, physical assaults, stalking. Then what did the police do? They left out that part of the story. She was receiving a string of phone calls. She got a call on October 11th that was made up of heavy breathing noises. And the next day got another call in a threatening voice that said, "I'll get you one day. You filthy biatch. I will find you." Find you? He has her phone number. Oh, Jesus. You don't want to read that part. He describes in graphic detail, Cindy notified the RCMP 2 days later. She heard someone prowling outside her house and discovered her porch lights had been broken when she woke up. She called the police on October the 15th to report someone had thrown a rock through one of her windows and entered her home. That was some... On October 20th, she left for work. Aldergrove says, "Today they say age is just a number, but it actually reflects how much of the world experience you have in common. The greater the difference, the less understanding." That's not been my experience in my family, but they also say that I heard somewhere that like less than 10% of marriages are really good marriages. I have a really good marriage, I think. And my parents as well. But, and on and on. Well, there's a lot of good marriages in my family, I guess. I guess I'm prejudiced. Biased. I'm probably prejudiced too. More harassment. Oh, God. Yeah, this is very graphic. There's an injury to Cynthia that's graphically described. I can't even say it on the air. Damage of a garden. He was rendered unconscious. The night of the alleged attack, when Constable Kyo Ikoma went to Cindy's house, he reported seeing blood on the kitchen floor in circular patterns as if someone were trying to clean up evidence. Yeah, still more harassment. Increasing violence. Cindy's torment. Oh, Jesus. That picture. More problem. Fire started. A nylon stocking. Oh, here we go, finally. Cindy moved to a new home in Richmond on December the 1st. She was discovered by passing vehicles in a ditch around 3.5 miles from her home, close to the University of British Columbia campus 10 days later. A nylon stocking was firmly fastened around her neck, and she was sporting a single glove and a pair of men's work boots. She was brought to a nearby hospital with hypothermia, and it was thought she had been given a tranquilizer injection. She claimed to have no recollection of what had happened or how she had arrived at the scene. Why does that keep jumping? Geez, this is a long story, and there's a disappearance. Discovered unalive. Body was discovered on June the 8th in 1989 in the backyard of an abandoned home at 8111 Blundell Road in Richmond by Gordon Starchuk. a municipal paving worker. Her neck was securely bound in a black nylon stocking, and her body was hog-tied with rope in the fetal position. But I'm not doing these jumps. Blackberry bushes covered Cindy's right leg, and her coat was discovered next to her body. Her remains were discovered on a property that was close to an intersection of a major street with lots of pedestrian traffic. Police discovered graffiti written in orange spray paint that said some biatch died here on the home's external gas tank. From the fuel tank to the location where her body was laying, a line that was spray painted with the same orange paint along the ground encircled it. Another devil-themed spray-painted graffiti was discovered inside the abandoned house. Cindy's hands had been bound so tightly that one finger had scratched another down to the bone. The inner right elbow of the body has a pinprick consistent with a hypodermic needle. The body had already started to decompose at the location where it was discovered, based on insect and larval activity. Multiple drug intoxication caused by significant doses of morphine, diazepam, and fluorazepam. She had 10 times the amount of morphine needed to be fatal in her blood. She would have been unconscious in a matter of minutes and passed away in a matter of hours. Oh my God. Yeah, this is really gruesome, guys. It is 43 past the hour and time for a suggestion by Gotcha Man, which is, well, we got to, well, we just delete this, hopefully. Hopefully this will be a new search. Let's not do another death. Sorry, G-Man. Hope you understand. Let's do Frog Fan at 44 past the hour. The red-haired giant of Afghanistan. The Kandahar Giant. Science Times. Huh. Just out of curiosity, I have to see what this has to say. The U.S. government allegedly unalived and covered up a 13-foot giant with red hair and six-finger hands who lived in the Afghanistan highlands. In a deleted YouTube clip, a witness claimed he saw the horrifying incident. In a chat with YouTuber L.A. Marzulli, the military contractor claimed to have been there during the savage killing of a killer he dubbed the Kandahar Giant. According to Indy 88, the Kandahar Giant is one of the following two possibilities. The second we're not going to cover because it's a debunker. The first is a legendary 13-foot tall enormous creature who dwelt in Afghanistan's highlands and was destroyed by U.S. special troops. The military authorities later covered up the death of the red-haired giant with six-fingered hands. In August of 2016, the YouTuber posted a lengthy interview with Mr. K, a military contractor. Mondo V is here. Welcome, Armando. Mondo says, I know a guy who saw a giant over there. He said it was bigger than this one. It was shaking a rock over its head the size of a VW bug. Wow. In the early 2000s, when the U.S. military was fighting the Taliban in their de facto capital of Kandahar province, the incident occurred. The massive creature was not a human combatant in the least. According to Mr. K, it had 2 sets of fangs. With his spear weapon, the monster unalived one of the Special Forces team. According to ATI, the remainder of the troops unalived him in less than 30 seconds by firing non-stop. The Special Forces hauled its body away in a Chinook chopper and have kept it concealed. Some accounts claim the giant was as tall as 15 feet, wore leather moccasins with a horrible odor. I think I read the giant itself had the odor. And appeared out of nowhere from a cave, killing one soldier with a spear. One report claimed, quote, between them, the squad was armed with full-auto M4 carbines, so-called recon carbines, semi-automatic, which means they can go fully automatic, and an M107 Barrett anti-materiel rifle, firing 50 caliber rounds. This much firepower concentrated on one target for 1 second, let alone 30, would be extremely destructive. End quote. Non-disclosure agreements were required of the soldiers. I need some liquid refreshment. Iced tea. T-Plateau says not washing your feet for years will do that to your moccasins. You may ask why my head is shaking. I think it's because my elbow is propped up on the table. It's the force of my heartbeat forcing my body up. Some accounts claim that the giant was as tall as... I read that already. I hate how they have this big ad at the top. Excuse me. Thanks, guys. What did I say? There was all the comments were debunking, and the end of the article was also debunking, and it was a very short article at sciencetimes.com. So we're going to go to another source. Thank you, Kanka Kong. Welcome, Bam. How about LAMarzulli.net, who did the original interview with the soldier from, it was posted in Afghanistan. Thank you, Mondo V, with the super chat. Mondo says 505 on the 5x5 on the timeline. We are a go for happiness. Congratulations on all U.S. weirdos and lovers of freedom and weird stuff. Amen to that. Thank you, Armando. Yeah, this is the guy that originally interviewed the soldier, and this is the interview right behind the artist's conception of the giant. That's the soldier there, and there's Marzulli in the video that was that disappeared from YouTube. Taken from the Daily Star. Rumors have been circulating for years that the American military killed a creature 3 times the size of a normal man. Supposedly shot unalive after taking multiple hits in the Kandahar region, where troops were looking for a missing patrol. Two self-proclaimed ex-special ops soldiers were called the encounter. They alleged that the giant killing was common knowledge among fellow troops, but no one could speak publicly. One soldier described the giant as 3 times the size of a man, and it swung a huge blade. Dan runs at him and starts shooting, which broke all of us into reality because it was surreal. Dan was killed from a blow from the sword before the giant was killed following multiple hits. Other sources say spear. Maybe he had both? In my mind, a giant's not that smart. Maybe he was a smart giant. Was airlifted away in a cargo net by a helicopter, and all those involved were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements. The strange firefight was covered up. Marzulli is convinced the creature was a manifestation of the Nephilim, described in the book of Genesis as the offspring of gods and humans. Not gods and humans. Angels and humans, or... Yeah, angels and humans, right? I think. The DOD, of course, denies it. The tallest man ever was Robert Laidlaw, 8 feet 11 inches, when he expired in 1940 at the age of 22. Mondo says the report he heard says another giant came out of the cave, or was in the cave, but that an explosive was fired into the cave, destroying it. For years, there's been an ongoing effort to get samples to perform DNA testing. Oh, this is the Nephilim cover-up. On Peruvian skulls and other organic creatures. two military men stepped up to tell their stories of the giant in Afghanistan. This was a well-known phenomenon by the locals, who told stories of cannibalism and frightening encounters. When some troops did not report in at their designated rally point, the special forces were sent in to find them. The carnage they found was something no one expected. An Air Force pilot said he was the one who flew the giant out of Kandahar. Oh, another link to Kaimi Musan. Kaimi Musan shows L.A. Marzulli a winged creature that he had kept confidential for years. Why does the story end with Kaimi Musan? Huh. Okay, guys. I love you guys. May God bless and protect you all.